and welcome to Dripping with Meaning. My name is Nicole Marie Campbell, and I am an intuitive artist, spirit seer, shaman, urban shaman, and energy promoter and worker, and on the path of pure love and consciousness evolution. Um, so this morning, me and my lovely co-host, Cara, the author of Unleash Your Light, we're going to be in a great discussion, and it's going to be evolving a topic we've designed called Spilling the Beans. We have two lovely guests coming in today. There'll be Amanda, I believe, with her crystal rocks from the Green Apothecary Cauldron, the Green Cauldron, and then there'll be another lovely lady, Elaine, who's going to be coming on talking about her spiritual evolution into love and love consciousness as she sees it. So without further ado, I'm just going to welcome Lee. Get her in here. Lee, are you there?
I'm here. Hello.
Good
As
morning.
usual, y'all, I'm just
Good
sharing
morning.
out the show. Please share with your friends. This is a super important topic. And whew, it's been a week. It feels like a year since the last time we were on. I don't know about the rest of you and these energies, but for me, it feels like it's been a year since I have sat here with y'all. So I'm very happy to be here.
We already have some comments. We have good morning, Sam.
Yes, good morning. If you're here, please drop in the comments, say hello, give us some little hearts, ting, 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 send us some love.
Well, I just want to talk right now a little bit about energies, and I think this energetic switchover, the changing of the season, and everything that we've been experiencing, it's pretty intense. I think we're in a place of pure transformation, and the heat is on. There's so
Yeah,
much going on, and there's so much being done, and there's so many revelations being had, and so many energetic movements happening while we're learning to stand in our power, become more love consciousness, become more alert to our spirits and our soul growth, right? And if we've been in it a long time, even in the game of it all, there's so many opportunities and potentials, right? There's so much going on.
yeah. There's a huge shifting. Like I said, last week I did a show called We're Having a Tower Moment. And there's this huge shift in the consciousness of people. And what I've noticed is that some are holding on so tight so that nothing changes. And others are kind of like, okay, that's different. I'm not sure that I like this, but it's movement, it's change, it's progress in a way, if you will, even if it feels wrong or it feels uncomfortable or painful or sad or whatever it is.
Mm.
And I really think that kind of encompasses the courage that is necessary to step onto the paths that you and I and our audience and so many people out there have chosen to choose to embrace love, to choose to embrace themselves, to choose to see things differently beyond their programming, beyond the conditioning of a regular 3D life on this planet.
Mm-hmm. I got a good one that I bumped into yesterday. I thought I put it up. It mustn't have saved. Oh, it was this one. I start to be free when I discovered that the cage was made of thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I do that, then I'm on the other side of the picture.
I'm like, can you still see me painting? Or I was hoping, to get so much in. But realistically, right, we're divine. And, stepping over the threshold over and over, walking through our issues coupled with the world issues and different things that are occurring around us, and gaining that inner strength and notion to know that when we manage who we are, when we really, really love the individual we are, and
Mm-hmm.
we're not swayed any longer. We're in that emperor, empress. We've got that on lockdown, and we're the king and queen of our own reality. And those thoughts, They're just passing notions, right?
Right.
Inspiring,
And we
but
can choose to stop them or not as they flow by. You can choose to choose those thoughts to keep, and then you can let the other ones go on down the river because they don't belong to you. They belong to ego.
yes.
They belong to your pain. They belong to your trauma. You can pull the ones that are divine and hold them close to you as they shift down.
Yeah, and I think like no matter how much you want to be a part of having someone come into the light with you or experience it with you, it's so much more satisfying when the work is done and that light shines for them, right? So it's honoring the pathways. You know, Kabbalah teaches pathways. It teaches them manyfold ways into the light.
Yeah,
So, with that discernment and understanding that as you're allowing yourself to glow and to manage and to grow stronger, that you're just, you know, a reservoir of inspiration and energy for other people because you're not letting the everyday life hold you down, right? You're
right,
divining.
right. And it's in every moment, every day, like confrontation within
Mm,
your radical self-awareness of paying attention to these thoughts. What came up? Why do I feel that way? Why am I saying these horrible things to myself? You know, the
absolutely.
hi Elaine. Elaine's going to join us in about 20 minutes or so. I'm so excited, y'all. I'm so excited, y'all.
So
That's one of the reasons why you should share out because Elaine is an amazing, amazing heart-centered soul, and we're going to pick her brain about how to do that. Because on our spiritual journey, you're talking about spilling the beans. So we live in a prison of our own mind. That's a square, not really a prison, but we live in a prison of our own mind and our own thoughts. If we look around and believe the world is fucked, then that's the only thing that we see. Whereas
right.
someone standing right next to you can look around and think the world is a beautiful
Beautiful
place. And it's
place.
right. And it's only our thoughts that keep us from being in that state of kindness and love and peace with ourselves. And so I found that when we go through this spiritual journey, that there's a stage in it when I call it I'm king of the world stage, when we start to feel so empowered by our transformation and we start to feel that strength and we start to recognize the spaces where we don't fit in to the world that we have built around us. We start to recognize, I always use Uncle Dave, who's constantly, spouting off slightly racist, offensive things. And we start to recognize the people in our lives that make too much noise in the morning. So we start to recognize that our environment or that our family members are not kind to us because we're seeing things in a different way. And when
Yeah.
we get to that space, we feel so strong and so powerful. I'm king of the world, like from Titanic, that we want to speak our truth. We want to stand in who we are now, who we are becoming. We want to start speaking the truth that we want to live. And that tends to disrupt everything around us.
And
And
it's a
in
beautiful
those moments,
disruption. It's an absolute beautiful chaos.
yes, it
Because
is a
I think
beautiful
like you
step.
go from a square, like you were talking about, into that cube of like more dimension and reality, which can become a tetrahedron, which is our most beautiful geometric, you know, to study, right? Which is so divine consciousness and inspired. But when you're in that flat surface reality where you're not having the discussion and you're just manifesting alone and you're manifesting in your head, and you're not using anything creatively, you're not really in the finite of the dimensions you could be in to experience reality from the complexity of it in a beautiful sense, right? Like this swimming transgender female issue that came up recently because on my lines, a lot of people were wanting to have the discussion. And I didn't end up attracting only one view. I actually attracted 10 to 20 different views, and in that discussion, I was right on the ball with like how I felt. And I didn't even need to mention it because I was just so allowing everyone to have their space. And then in the end, when I finally knew what I felt and I thought, I had gathered an opinion too. So that's the beauty of the diversity of sharing, right? But when we pull back and we hold judgment and we can't come forward, we cut ourselves off from the non learning process and the non sharing process. The heart centered process where the evolution of the planet is in your heart and my heart and everyone's heart here. You just need a heart to show up, you know,
Right.
and admit that this is the amends of where you're feeling, thinking, and being, and love it into a better feeling space, right?
Yeah. Because even as we want to speak our truth, we have to recognize that our truth is not the same for everyone, and that other people have their own truth. And that even
Mhm.
in our speaking of our truth, we have to recognize that they also have a right to believe whatever they're going to believe, even if we think, no, believe 1,000% that we're correct,
Mhm.
because they are probably believing exactly the same thing, that they are correct, you know? So it's such a polarity of allowing. And I believe when we go into these moments where we want to spill the beans, where we want to have these conversations with our friends, our family, our loved ones, our whatever it is, when we want to share our truth with the world, we also have to go into that experience with an open mind, with listening ears and an open heart. Because when we judge, like you said, we're keeping them separate from
Mm.
us. And when we go into these conversations, we have to recognize that they are us, that we are connected to the person that we're going to have an argument with. We are connected to that person that we're about to tell, I can't have you around me anymore because you are, because it screws up my peace because
Yeah.
of what I'm becoming,
And I think, well, and I think that mindfulness theory, like a lot of people think, meditation needs to be in a sedentary state. It's fine. But I think, in my opinion, from daily observations, we grow more brain cell activation by having conversations that challenge us emotionally, that challenge us physically, and challenge us to create neural pathways that are open to idea sharing. So we're going from the mammalian, or sorry, reptilian brain to the, how much our brains have developed over these 7 generations of human development, which I believe has spanned over millions and millions of years. And this brain development is highlighting the fact that our bodies are these computerized boards of information, and are always giving us information based on how well we're allowing ourselves to handle stress, to handle anxiety, because it's just basically information or a difference of opinion, and we're personalizing it or not, and then we're digesting it, and then that's how the stress starts, right?
Mhm.
So it's knowing how our stress starts, and knowing that, just like my new little really cool, it's called Core 2, it's not a Fitbit, has shown me that I have a certain oxygen level. I sleep so many hours REM. These are fascinating things the body are doing, and the body is hosting the soul. So, very important to kind of highlight in your day how your body feels based on what you're intaking and what you're doing, and then realizing the thought pattern is connected to it. So, letting go to love and non judgment just elevates those photons, elevates so much transmission and frequency.
Yeah.
It's pretty much
And it
where it's
is
at.
always a choice. And it is always a choice to choose that energy of love, to choose that energy. And it doesn't mean that bad stuff's not happening all around you, right? It doesn't mean that the world isn't crumbling down. Your personal world isn't crumbling down. It doesn't mean that you're going to have, roses and rainbow farts all the time either. But what it means is that as you go through that, you are choosing to try to find your center of peace. You are choosing to try to connect with your divine to help you go through that, to shed the human trappings of panic and worry and sadness and pain and self-loathing and self-destruction that so many of us carry, and stepping into a space where we allow those feelings to move on. One of my biggest lessons this week, I'm sorry, I'm speaking, so I'm getting warm. One of my hugest lessons this week, and those of you who follow me probably saw, I've been in my feels for a couple of days. It was the words, I trust you, to myself. It was the words, I trust you, to the universe. It was saying the words, I trust you, out loud, that literally shifted this space in my mind that I went to. Because for those of you who don't follow me, who don't know, I was diagnosed with clinical depression in my 30s, and have been on a multitude of different sorts of medications over the years to try to, get a handle. I was a cutter. I've self-harmed for until my 40s, until my awakening. And so I do have that tendency to go super dark, super deep, super fast. And it doesn't take but a moment of me not paying attention and me allowing it to sink back into what feels painful and yet incredibly comfortable, because I know it. It's my comfy blanket that I wore for such a long time. That pain, the self-defense mechanisms, the self-loathing. I know that sounds like it would be terrible, but for me, it felt and still feels very comfortable to wear and to put on, you know?
Mm.
And so it's a choice. You have to literally strip yourself naked from those things and be willing to stand in the pain as you recenter. Be willing to stand in the pain without those protections against it, so that we can go through it, so that we can heal it, so that we can love it. You know, it's spilling the beans can be incredibly difficult, especially when we spill it to ourselves, you
Yeah,
know,
and it's
to
not a
ourselves.
story like, please don't accept that it's going to be a story of all just jumping up there and getting it done. It's going to be a story of the ins and outs and the ups and downs and how you face yourself. And I like to say it like a 24/7 module now. I'm going to face myself 24/7. I'm not going to let down on myself. I'm going to walk away from every circumstance knowing it's about me creating something on this planet. And I'm not going to let down on who I am, because I'm the one that will face that, as you said, depression or fear if I do. And that, and enjoying your space, coming from going from fear into love, going from the unknown into self-care, right? That self-care, even if you feel like things have gotten you down, is already alleviating you because you're the one creating it. And I think that's what we're here for in the earth, is to experience the creative potential at our own fingertips, create it with that energy and that light. You know, in my class, I like to talk about um, and go into intuitive meditation and create safe spaces that are
Mm,
within, right? And those safe spaces are then allowing for your own eminence, so that when you are in other public opportunities, you're not letting a three-dimensional pull get you on the undertow and grab you by, you know, you're like there and you're in service, and that's being in the light, right? It's
yeah,
a big convoluted journey of a million things, but you decided to show up for it. And that's through the beautifulness of you falling, getting back up, getting over the hill, finding the valley of your life, getting back up, and just go for it. Do it.
yeah, yeah. And the I was talking about holding on to the way things were, holding on to the old conditioning. There's a in qigong, Elaine, you're wonderful. In qigong, the energy channels are in our hands. So we have 6 energy channels in our hands. So when we're doing this, holding on to something that no longer serves us, we are blocking the chi. We're blocking the energy that flows through our body. And all we have to do is this.
Let it
And
go.
what is
Exactly.
right? Like receiving, giving and receiving are the same motion. They're the same open hand, open heart, open-minded space to be in. And it
Beautiful.
makes this huge shift just by opening our hands and
Yeah.
releasing, whether it's metaphoric, whether it's physical. And you can do it physically. Imagine in your mind that the things that you're upset about are here in your hands, right?
Mm.
And you're squishing them and you're thinking about them and you're right. And then we go, wait, but I don't need that anymore, because I don't have to protect myself from that person who beat the shit out of me when I was 5 years old. I don't have to protect myself from those bullies anymore. I don't have to
Mm.
protect myself from the conditioning of the
Yeah. I don't
world.
have to keep recreating the story. I can be independent and strong.
Right. I can write myself a new story and put that away, because there is only now. Consciousness is the thought of now. And there is only now. And so I can allow that to go differently. And if we go super like woo woo on it into the timelines, if you believe that we're jumping timelines as we expand, as we grow, as we learn, as we change our vibration, I don't think we change our vibration, but as we progress, then you have to recognize that the you that was that is no longer existing. The old story is not in this timeline. It was a different timeline. And you can just let go of it completely.
Oh
Would you
yeah, and
say
then
maybe?
regenerate, right?
Mm,
Regenerate. This little watch is showing me I am so fascinated by this technology. It was designed by an athlete who had post-traumatic stress syndrome. So
Interesting.
it's not designed with fashion in mind. It's designed with getting you well.
Mm.
Okay, I'm gonna like Amanda's here, so we're gonna do that. Um, I don't know. Is she aware of today's topic or?
I did not share it unless you shared
Okay,
it in the group.
alrighty. There she is, Amanda.
Hello.
Hi, look at you with your cat. What a cool cat. Wow, I love it. What is his name or her name?
This is Amelia.
Hi,
He is
Amelia.
a Munchkin Sphinx.
Wow.
He's my best friend.
I would say so. I'm gonna get a munchkin exactly that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Super cute.
So we're
Morning.
talking about spilling the beans, being able to be honest about what you're co-creating, not standing in your power, using your voice, and realizing that it is a complicated journey, but that's the fun of it.
Yeah. I love that. It's
So
funny.
as our crystal
Coming up
consultant,
a lot lately, a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, because if you don't spill it and let it turn into embody another sense of reality and get better, get stronger, get more alert to its own happiness and to its own well-being is essentially what we're doing.
Yeah.
Getting rid of codependencies and being, co-creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this card wanted to come up as getting us to see beyond. So literally getting us to go beyond the smoke and mirrors and see beyond. There are many dimensions there within, and
Yeah.
it's lovely.
So as our crystal consultant, I know you're not in the shop today, but I know that there are crystals that are for speaking our truth with discernment, not in accusation, not in, to temper everything with love. So share with us a few of those that are good for that sort of thing, for people in our audience who are ready to step into that.
Okay, so Veracruz amethyst is the first one that comes to mind. It's coming out of Mexico. It's relatively new, beautiful, like light point amethyst, like it's naturally polished almost. One of the most spiritual crystals as far as being able to speak your truth. Also, and we've touched topics on this before, Nicole, actually, aura coated amethyst. And that's one of those ones that's natural underneath, and then they coat it with the platinum. That is so good for helping you speak your truth. Yeah.
And they're super pretty too.
Yeah.
Like they're so beautiful. They have like this beautiful pastel rainbow.
Yeah.
That is, and anything with the metal too, like I have a piece of copper and sometimes I use it with another crystal and I'm just like, oh, whoa,
yeah.
like, you get a literal jolt out of it.
Yeah. And you do have to be careful with the aura coated things, because sometimes they coat them in like junk metal. So you're getting them coated in like nickel or something that you wouldn't want to amplify. But true aura amethyst is coated in platinum or titanium, and it radiates to help you speak your truth.
Yeah. Just using those vocal cords and getting it out and understanding it's your voice that matters. It's such a huge step. It's, I think, a difficult one, especially when there's a lot of loneliness or aloneness. It's something that I want to foster within my communities, that I want it to be understood that, like back in the days of there was open speaking and open, philosophically and now obviously metaphysically, but in that 12-dimensional stance of love and shamanism in the earth and coming together in oneness, knowing the power of the heart and one another and riding that wave of wowness. Wow. We came for the magic. We came to be free and able to experience one another's growth and honor one another, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amanda, you said that you had been seeing this a lot. Tell me a little bit about the patterns of that you've been seeing, because you're there in the shop. You have people come in asking for things, so what are the patterns in your personal life and the people around you that you're seeing that are in this topic?
A lot of people have been coming in needing help to speak their truth. A lot of people have been coming in saying, I don't like how someone is, acting around me. Normal behavior would be to just kind of cut them off and go, because we're very much in a cancel culture right now. And I've been giving them crystals, to like try this, put this around you and the person, but also reminding people that if someone is doing something around you that you don't like or makes you uncomfortable, you have to speak your truth and tell them. People can't change if they don't know that they're doing something that's bothering you. We are all creatures of habit. So we might do something that's just out of habit, or how our personalities are, based on our zodiac and our chart and everything. And a lot of times, if it's bothering someone and they tell us, we reevaluate and we're like, oh, okay, well, I know not to do this around that person, or maybe I don't need to act that way. So speaking
Yes,
has really been
but they don't get the message by, right? Like
right.
just keeping your mouth shut. There was a whole group I did one winter, 2 winters ago, and that was a topic all the time was, it used to be that loose lips, sink ships.
Yes.
But it isn't that way now. It actually is more damaging to not speak one's mind and to not be like essentially heard or listened to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you do the listening and you do the sharing, you develop neural pathways that allow for good feeling thoughts and less fight, flight, freeze, stress situations.
Yes.
And then you learn to be in leadership of understanding this is essentially a human development issue. It's
Yeah.
not their issue. It's not my issue. I just happen here in my pack to have a little bit more wisdom on the situation. But I had a couple of lessons still to learn in there about appreciating, the right of human development and that it's occurring. And everyone does have their own valued opinion. It's their own opinion.
Exactly. Exactly. And nobody knows what's bothering you unless you speak your truth.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm a big proponent, and people don't like to hear it sometimes, that the people that come into the people that make you the most uncomfortable are the ones you're going to learn the most from. If you
yeah.
throw them away or cut them out, there was a big thing years ago about cutting toxic people out of your life, which is a good thing in some ways. But if you haven't learned your lesson from them before you let them move on, the universe will send the next one in a different skin to do it, whether it's relationships or friendships or business things. And it could just be, I need to stand up and speak my truth and tell you, I don't like it when you do this.
Yes.
Whatever it is, it might be something that small that has kept you like this all for months.
But it might have been there since you're like 8 years old, and then all of a sudden you have to process it because it's time, right? Which is the holographic design in our souls and our bodies. Is there's little bits and pieces of treasures that once we can unlock them, that are actually connecting threads to other existences. It's in our bloodstream, right? It's in our challenges and how we perceive and how we love through those challenges. Because in this lifetime, we can love through the challenge, self-love, right?
Yep.
And then be able to give quality time to people after, my nails are done. Sorry, but that's the way I'm looking at it today, right?
It's absolutely true. And I've been noticing that there's a lot of back and forth with people that are trying to speak their truth. Like talking to somebody, I don't like this aspect of what's going on. And the other person being like, well, I do it because I don't like this aspect. We have all grown up, especially our generation, full of triggers and traumas and things that we're having to relive. And if you just speak your truth and talk it out, you're going to realize that people are reacting because that's how they cope. And then you can really kind of go through it and figure out, okay, well, if they're going to accept that I don't like this, I need to accept that that's how they react. Things like that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because we all have our own coping mechanisms. We all have our own spaces where everybody's triggers are formed by their own traumas, right? And so when we come together, we're coming together to heal, even though it feels like we're coming together to fight.
Yeah.
We're actually coming together to heal, because we will learn something from each interaction, especially with the ones who vex us the most, the ones who really push our buttons. And I always feel like if we have to face it, if we have to go through this, if the universe keeps putting this type of person in our path, it's because we need to overcome that to get to the next stage.
Absolutely.
The universe keeps piling on for our own benefit, for our own development, the things that we need,
Yeah. And when you
so if
back.
go ahead. Yeah. And in that, so when we go into these conversations, right, we want to speak our mind, but we also want to listen, right? We want to have an open mind and an open heart. So let's add another layer to our oral aura amethyst. So what is the open mind, open heart, like I'm listening, I'm open kind of a crystal to put with that?
Flower agate is really good for opening your heart, your mind. And flower agate is another speak your truth amethyst. It would be a really good, or crystal. It would be a really good thing to pair. And it's one of those gentler crystals that I've talked about before, that is almost like a hug instead of a slap.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted like a slap crystal for something along these lines, I would recommend malachite, chrysocolla. One of those like really like get to the point, we're gonna get there fast crystals. And you could absolutely pair a piece of malachite with a piece of flower agate, and it would be so like harmonious to help you truth, but get to the root of it.
Yeah, and have a willing release, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just thinking about a piece of green fluffy malachite with a polished piece of flower agate seems so beautiful in my head.
I love your advice, Amanda. It's always so like, I would never do that, but now I'm like so much more adventurous with my crystal collection for sure.
I love
it. It's great. So what
it feels like cooking.
Are you just not in work today, or?
I'm going in at 2 today.
Good for you.
Yeah. I was in on Thursdays, but we're switching the schedule around a little bit as school's coming to vacation and summer's coming. So I'm going in at 2 instead of the morning.
Meow. Amelia.
Yeah, and then keeping open to discoveries. This card's so pretty.
That's a beautiful card. What deck is that?
It's the one I took from the course with Colette Barron Reed.
Oh, it's beautiful. It reminds me of one of the Rebecca Campbells. She does a lot of like light working decks.
Mm-hmm.
I think you really like them, Nicole. They're very beautiful, almost like realism with a little bit of fantasy in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like sci-fi, fantasy, outer space stuff. The Rebecca Campbell stuff. It's all the goddesses and the crystals and the I love the deck. Is absolutely gorgeous. I tend to shy away from oracle decks personally, and that's just me. I don't tend to do them much, but I love the imagery on those.
Yeah, I definitely like that deck. And then I also brought out The Universe Has Your Back. This is a really nice one for just like cozy comfortableness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it because I find that it's just more like, we'll see what we got on the self-affirmation level, right?
Yeah.
Indeed. So anyone out there who's watching,
guys, a little package of crystals, and then maybe we can talk about them once you get them. I've got some really like unique new things popping up in the shop that are pretty like new discoveries.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to keep up with that for sure. Maybe we could even do a live on Facebook again, like do some reels and talk about it. And then
yeah, absolutely.
That'd be cool. Instead of praying for an outcome, pray for the highest good for all.
Yes. Wow. That's beautiful.
Very community based, right?
Yes.
Vicky's loving the cards.
So anyone out there who wants to get in touch with Amanda, she runs a beautiful store in Williamsburg called the Green Cauldron Apothecary, and she literally ships anywhere you want. And not only does she sell crystals, but she also sells cards, and she does lives on Instagram. She does lives on Facebook. and walks around the store, and you can say, pack me that, pack me that, pack me that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She'll
It's
shift to
absolutely,
your needs, and if you want divine counsel as well, we're both available. If you want divine insight and such, I teach a spiritual magic class, so we can all coordinate and get you to make it comfortable to step into your light on so many levels.
yeah. And I want to highlight one of your new items. And I know that I read the Instagram post that said that it sold out immediately. Were those the air plants on the crystals?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, those are so adorable. If I was still in Williamsburg, I would be getting one or 10
Yeah.
right away. What is because I would want to put my fingers on them. What is the energy that comes from them combining a live plant with a crystal?
You can literally feel like calmness buzzing. And I know that's an oxymoron, but like it literally just envelops you in like this calm, happy, you want to smile feeling. And the
Wow.
plants really love being on the crystal, and they will actually flower once they're happy enough and you get them misted a few times. They will pop flowers for you. So we got more
I love
something I'm going to keep through the summer.
mm-hmm. So you did get more in. Have they sold out already, the second batch?
I got them in yesterday. There's a few left.
Okay. So you don't know yet. You might go in it too and they're already gone,
Yeah.
but you're going to keep, so she's going to keep restocking these. And I'll make sure that next week that you bring, that we have a little bloop, a little one to share. Cause I just found that so fascinating because air plants are a very interesting thing that they don't really need soil. And
Yeah.
the fact that they would grow on a crystal, I was really interested in that,
Yeah.
in that sort of energy that comes from it. Really fascinating.
I know that I didn't know that there was an energetic component to that. That's so cool.
Yes. It's beautiful, beautiful, safe, calming energy.
I'm gonna get some then for sure. That's cool.
Good morning, Allison. Says good morning, goddesses.
Oh,
We
Indeed.
got a lot of that this morning. We have gratitude goddesses. Good
Hi,
morning,
Tristan.
goddesses. Love from Elaine. Lots of love. That's good. Yeah, it's awesome. I think like pairing up and getting an understanding of what can go with what, but also exploring. I've got a couple of crystal rock Bibles that
yeah.
like the information is endless when it comes to that dimension.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And they're constantly discovering new things and new finds, and it's a good thing.
The earth is beautiful. They're like little babies from Gaia that grow down in the earth in
Yeah.
her womb, right?
They're like
And everyone's
forever
like a
gifts.
little baby.
Like
Yes,
one of
yes,
my
yes.
I think that one thing to remember too is that, you know, these crystals are taking millions of years to form. So even if it's a small crystal like the size of a pen cap, it still took a million years to get there. So
Yeah, we
Yes,
have to.
and one of my students had an experience where he was working with
oh,
his,
I'm having some
and he started
difficulties and I
getting
can't
those
hear anymore.
messages.
Oh,
You can't
she's
hear me?
having difficulties.
I'm
She
not
can't
sure
hear.
what happened. I will say farewell.
Okay.
It seems like I got a glitch. Thank you guys so much for having me, and I'll see you guys next time.
Love you.
Yay! Oh, I love her so much.
And I feel like that goodness, I feel like in the show and in what we're trying to allow people to understand being an intuitive show is it is not going to energetically come together without love, without that commitment, right? And that kindness that comes from it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about spilling the beans, right? We're talking about speaking our truth and yet allowing everyone their own version of truth, moving through that. That can be a difficult thing to do, especially when people don't make it easy. People don't make it easy for you to
But that's the good
look
part,
at
right?
them through eyes of
That's the
love.
reason to spill those beans and start watering that garden and anticipating a more positive outcome. I'll be just 1 second.
Absolutely. There's this space that we go through when we're speaking our truth that is, I always look at it as it needs to have two parts. Our truth is not absolute. And their truth is not absolute. It's all about the perspectives that we have. And we can constantly change our opinion, change our mind, change our level of education on the topic, change how our opinions on it, how we feel about it. We can actually shift our emotions when we attach to a belief because of an emotional thing. We're blocking and refusing any other version of truth. And truth is one of the slipperiest things that we have on this 3D planet, because each one of us lives in our own version of it, whether we want to believe it or not.
Yeah.
And you know, everything we look at is changed by being observed. Einstein said that everything is changed by the observer observing it.
Yeah.
And so each one of us changes the world to fit into what is already, like you said, in the cage of our mind, in the consciousness of how we want to see the world. One person looks at the world and sees it's falling apart and it's horrible, and the other person looks at the exact same world and sees how beautiful it is. And it's the cage that we keep ourselves in, the thoughts that we choose to have in our consciousness, that will form that space. And it doesn't just count on seeing the world around us, but like we're talking about, spilling our truth, seeing the person in front of you as a person who is going through their own traumas. And like Amanda said, who has their own triggers and their own stories, and they're doing that because of something that happened to them. And so how can we sit in that energy of, I'm so mad at you and I need to speak my thing, or you're really triggering me and I need to speak my thing, but also hold on to that love for them. And I think the person that we're going to bring on next is what is going to be able to really help us with that space of love and seeing things through the eyes of divine.
Yeah, and through the space of divine, which we tend to take time to reflect on through animals. We find it in the plant kingdom, we find it in the crystalline kingdom, harder to find within the human kingdom, but it's that lesson when it comes up, right? So the lesson, when you kind of execute it well with gratitude and compassion, really helps yourself in the situation. Not to get too alarming, but we are coming to a short. I don't have all the usual hour and a half I used to give. So do you want to do a collective reading for the end of this one? And then we'll, because I didn't see, you said Elaine was
Are we bringing in Elaine?
Yeah.
I told her 10:20 or 9:20 for her. Is it that time?
No, 10:30 now.
It's 10:30.
Yeah, you might have given her the wrong time.
No, I told her earlier. Did she pop in? Let's see.
No.
Let me send her a message. Talk amongst yourselves. Here's a topic. Butter. Is it good or bad for you?
We're probably going to have time enough, though, to be honest with you, Lee, in order to do maybe one card reading. And she said she couldn't get the link to work. That's what happened.
Oh, okay. Okay,
so if you feel like you want to do a ruin, etc. reading for the week of collective consciousness, you can also reach out to us at Designing Artists or Nicole Marie Campbell. Cara has her own site as well. And yeah.
All right. So the rune that I pulled is Inguz. Inguz is the rune for fertility and new beginnings. So fertility and new beginnings. And Ing, the hero god. And it speaks about the completion of beginnings. I actually think that we pulled this one last week also. This is the completion of beginnings, and it marks a new time, a new life, a new path. And it says that we are now in a space to have the strength to achieve completion, resolution, and from that becomes a new beginning. And that completion is crucial. So if you have a project or you have something you're going through, you have a situation, it needs to be clarified. It needs to be resolved. This is the space that says, fertilize the ground for your own deliverance. Like you're saying, planting those seeds and really stepping into understanding all things change. And you can't continue to live like this among your obstructions. And it's the emergence from that chrysalis state. Sometimes it means you have to free yourself from a rut, clear away the old, an old pattern, an old habit, a relationship, a cultural behavior pattern, and leaving these things behind is very proper, it says, because they belong to the self that you're leaving behind. So it's very interesting. I'm always fascinated when the runes pop up and they're talking about exactly what we're talking about. So it always blows me away.
I know. And then it's like, wow, where you're just like the synchronicity kicks in, and it kicks in because we lined up for it. We lined up for it. We lined up for it. We lined up to get our message. I really think in messaging and creating messages, I encourage with my students that we need to understand how to divine for our messages as well. And not always healthy to be out there looking for other people to be giving you your message, because you've got it within you to figure it out as well. But it's very good to have somebody who can guide you through that and teach you how to find that more for yourself, for sure.
Yeah. And not to be disparaging at all, but every person is at a different stage in their personal development. And when you are reading for other people, if you aren't in a clear state of either a clear channel or seeing your own stuff, then everything you will read, you will interpret through your own lens. So if I have a broken heart and a man or a woman cheated on me, so I think that men are trash, then when I'm reading for you about your love life, I am going to interpret these cards based on the fact that I have a belief that men are trash or whatever it is that my belief is. And it taints the reading for someone else because we're reading through our own filters. And so that's another reason why it is good for us if cards help you to learn cards for yourself, or to get an oracle deck that speaks to you, or to find something that allows you to speak to the universe if you're not quite there with just the conversation like a telephone back and forth, because who is? Like, that's a real difficult thing to do, But so that's a really good, because then it's only filtered through your own experience. But you see all these memes that say, shuffle again, those cards aren't right, or
it was like
two women on the pole, who are like, what did you do?
For us to look at is kind of interesting. It was all females have 50 screenshotted quotes waiting in their album ready to post when shit goes down, right?
So funny how we speak in pictures now, how easy it is.
It's nice. It's really nice.
Yeah. So are we jumping into doing a reading for a specific, or are we sticking with the group, since I'm sad about Elaine?
No, I know. So she can definitely meet up at a different point with us.
I'll work on the link.
Just go with the collective, because I'm looking at 5-10 more minutes max. So
sure. Okay, well, if we're looking at the collective, the first one that pops out is the 9 of Cups. So the 9 of Cups, to me, for me, I have a special meaning with the 9 of Cups. The 10 of Cups is the happily ever after. It's all the love. It's the rainbow. On the traditional deck, it's a rainbow, and it's a family and a little house in the background. It's like you're happily ever after. And the 9 of Cups is like that space where you're like, okay, this is going to work out. This is actually going to happen. I am right on the verge of this. This is the space where I claim this because I own it, because I am worthy, right? But for me, the 9 of Cups is the told you so card. And I think we've talked about this before. There's a little scene in Will and Grace where Grace's mother is like, told you so, told you so, told you, told you, told you, told you, told you so. And this to me is the card that the universe pops out when they want to go, see, you were worried for nothing. Everything's going to work out just fine. There is no issue that we cannot overcome together, because we're always looking out for you, and we're always here trying to do what's best for you, even if you don't like it. And along with that, we have the 2 of Cups, and the 2 of Cups tends to be about soulmates. It tends to be about partnerships. It tends to be about embracing, but not just another person, ourselves. It's about the divine union within ourselves, where we are embracing the male and the female, where we are embracing the black and the white, where we are embracing the two sides of the yin yang that spin together. And these two cards together, I don't know if you can see on this, let me see, there we go. The 9 of Cups, all those cups are upside down, right? You know why? Because they're making it rain. On the card, all of the stuff in the cups, that's the wrong one. All of the stuff on the cups is raining out on the flowers.
Wow.
All of everything in the cups, they are making it rain. This is the card that speaks to that next step. When we put that in with the ingus that we had as the rune for the collective reading, what we get is, hold on, you're in a new beginning, and it's happening because you are so protected, and you are so abundant, and that there's so much love for you, and we're making it rain all over you if you will just embrace yourself, if you will
Oh,
embrace
wow.
the duality.
The
I love that.
duality, why you came to planet Earth for this last round, I'd hope.
Absolutely.
But we'll probably like want to do things over again. I mean, there's some things worth doing over again, and then there's other things you just want to let your body experience again. No masking and getting out and not having to wearing lip gloss. I'm a big lip gloss fan.
And we have the King of Cups. The King of Cups, cups are love. So the King of Cups is love from a detached place. The King of Cups is love from the observer position. And when we look at the card, we see the king buried in this cup of love, underneath of nature, underneath of Gaia, feeding the world with the detached love for all instead of the focused love of the mother. It's very interesting.
Wow. So a little more on that last card before we go, because like that was like wow for me. Whoa.
So this is the chalice of love, right? And down here we have these little things that are in the water, like from a lily pad. So lilies, they grow in muck like a lotus. They grow in grossness, these lily pads and whatnot. So down here, we're looking at growing from the muck, growing from that space of muddiness and not knowing. And we have the king laid out, fertilizing all of this beauty, all of this nature, all of this knowing that is above it, underneath of the sky.
Wow.
It's really beautiful.
I would like that one. That whole idea that I think that's very me in the sense that the flower coming up out of the water, rosing, and then the power of the elements. I would put that too. The power of the elements.
Mm-hmm. This is just for anybody out there who wants to know what the deck is.
Not that I
It's by
don't
an
need
artist.
another, but I would definitely think about getting that one.
It's by an artist named Ricardo Cavolo, and they're absolutely gorgeous. I have the fakey deck because they're small, and I have a neurological fake. So all of my decks are smaller. So the one that, like, if you ordered it, you probably get a much bigger deck. But all of the imagery in here is so both disturbing and beautiful in the same space. It's amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Beautiful. Well, coming to the close of Spilling the Beans here with Dripping with Meaning and Cara, her book Unleash the Light, where we're sharing every week on how to keep our heads above water and go way beyond and use our heart center and see ourselves through all our own issues and appreciate diversity. We're definitely 11th dimension here, so this is a great way to celebrate it all at once, get it all in. We love our audience, and yes, we didn't get to see Elaine today, but we'll get that checked out. We also have a wonderful gentleman coming on next week who's going to be talking about a profound energetic machine that's been helping people heal, that he's done 20 years of research on and has got guidance on. So he wants to bring some knowledge forward for us. Again, that's wonderful.
Beautiful.
So appreciative. Yeah. And cutting it short is tough, but as Lee likes to say, to finish off usually,
you are beloved, you matter, and you are so very loved.
Yes, you are. Thanks everyone for showing up, and find us next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Indeed.
Okay, wait. Go.